Welcome back, y'all. We are your hosts, Bull and P, and this is the Bluechip Breakdown. And today we are going to be recapping Tennessee's win over Vanderbilt with our basketball team. We're going to talk some about the baseball team, just some of our opening thoughts as the season has just started. Excuse me. And we're also going to be talking about some players that we think the Tennessee should try to go out and tamper with in the transfer portal. We're going to kind of break that thing down more in depth as we go through. But y'all, please do us a very big favor. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. So I want to start it off. And P, did you get to catch any of the basketball game?
No, so I actually missed the entire game. I was keeping up with it on my phone. Went out with the family earlier today. But yeah, man, I saw we start off rough. Like when I checked the score, I think it was still in the first half. We were down big, man. I want to say it was like 50 to something. Like we were losing by like 20 points. I was like, what's going on? But I was glad to see when I got home. I checked the score and it looked like we had came back. It was like 2 minutes left in the game. So glad we were able to pull it out, but I'm not really sure exactly what was going on with us. Did you get a chance to watch it today?
Oh yeah, I watched the whole thing. So we're gonna, we about to go through, recap everything. So to start off in the first half, it just felt like we wasn't playing with nearly, enough effort. The defense was terrible. I mean, that's the worst defense I've ever seen a Rick Barnes team play at Tennessee that I can think of. I mean, it was horrible. We was letting them get a whole bunch of easy buckets that were driving. We weren't really closing out. We weren't getting any rebounds. I mean, it was it was two completely different teams from the first half to the second half. There were a couple of, I don't know if I can even say that there was any bright spots. I think that Igor did a decent job in the first half of setting up some scores and things like that. Chaz looked pretty good. I think he hit a three right at the buzzer heading in the half. So that kind of helped us out. I also do feel like, and this is something that the commentators kept on talking about, our crowd, I mean, we got to do a way better job. It's like you can hear everything. You can hear the feet squeaking on the court. Like, it should never be that quiet. So I don't know what Danny White needs to do to get that fixed. If he needs to maybe take the ticket prices down to let some folks who are going to go in there and yell and scream and stand up. Like, you got to do something. I've seen and heard some things about Tennessee student section. I don't know what's going on there, but we need a big student section. Like, that is, whenever you are in a venue like that, that's kind of small, it should be loud, and maybe that's part of the reason that Tennessee lost some of these home games. The crowd's got to do a much better job. But anyway, let's go ahead and go through all of these stats right here, and you have to excuse the ads and all that. I have no idea why they keep on popping up. For some reason, my ad blocker can't stop it on ESPN. But first and foremost, man, let's talk about Felix. He scored 6 points tonight. I think he did some really nice things. Once we came out of halftime, P, we came back into the second half. We played with so much more effort, fighting for the rebounds and things like that. And it was a point where Felix was fighting for the ball with that big man for Vandy, and he just they both kept on holding on to it. So that right there told me, hey, we're about to win this ball game. It's just little stuff like that. We might have still been losing by, I don't know, 7 or 8 points at that time. But I like that type of dog. And he has what I feel like we didn't really have too much last season outside of Tobe. Just like that dog, like that physicality, that toughness. And that can help us, obviously, once we get into tournament play and in some of these bigger games. And at this point, I think that we have a week off. We play again next Saturday. But it's good that the players are going to have that week off to rest and all that. They gave their all in that second half, and that's why we were able to come back and win. I think we're down by like 15 points. So Felix, he played well. How many rebounds did he end up with? Ended up with 6 rebounds. He's still kind of working on his post game. He likes that, kind of like sky hook or, whatever it is that he's throwing up. I would like to see him find a way to utilize some footwork a little bit more down there. That would be critical because, yeah, he's a 7-footer, but we might see some guys, like a Edie that's 7'4", 7'5". And I mean, like the sky hook is like, you can't really stop that, but I want to see him be able to use some of his skill sets because he does have some really nice skill sets. So I'm happy that we're still trying to get him the ball down low. He always does a great job playing defense, whether he's on the outside or whether he's down in that paint. So I'm proud of what Felix did. As far as Iggy, looking like heading into this game, he looks like our best player. He's the go-to guy. I mean, he can literally put the ball on the floor. Okay, he'll pump fake you out there, at the line, and then he'll drive all the way. It's hard to stop. He drew some fouls, did a pretty decent job, I think, at the free throw line. Let me see, what did he shoot from the free throw line. Looks like he went 3 for 4, so 75%. That's this team's average. So, he's doing a good job. I love the way he's stepping up with his defense. You can tell that he's playing with a lot of confidence. This is something else that the commentators had even touched on. He doesn't look like the same player that started the season off. So having guys that are big, tall, long, and can do everything, you need that heading into the tournament. How many rebounds did he get tonight? He only got 2, and I think he's averaging 8. So, didn't do a great job there, but really nobody did until the second half. Next, we have ZZ, who I don't think he scored anything in the first half. He might have only took 1 shot, but he ended the game with 22 points. So he took over, right? Like, I think he was probably like the MVP of this game, just doing a whole lot of different things, setting people up, always playing really, really nice defense. He had 8 assists today. He had a block. And he did turn the basketball over 3 times. But, I think that he looked really, really good. He's shooting with so much confidence. Shot 75% from 3. Just everything that we wanted and needed. He was that spark plug. And we're going to miss him a lot next season. Like, that's something we might not talk about too much today, but we will miss him. Super proud of what ZZ did. Chaz finally getting back to being Chaz, scoring over 20 points, which is where I think he needs to be at, P. We need him as close to about 20 points as possible. So he dropped 21 today. Did a good job from 3. Did a much better job of getting to the basket. It's something that we talked about last week, right? Like, we talked about what we need to do is more pump fakes, which we saw more of that from everybody. And we need to get to the basket more, try to draw some more fouls. But he looked a lot better doing all those things. So whenever he's doing that, and he also looked way better, P, in trying to get open. You could tell that he was really straining and struggling to try to get open. So those types of things, man, whenever we have him playing how he played, then we're going to be really, really good. How many rebounds did he end up with? So he ends up with 8 boards. This is something else that we talked about last week. I said, man, look, he's averaging 3.5 rebounds per game. But I feel like if you started it from this Vandy game to the, all the way to the season ends, all the way through the tournament and everything, he's going to end up averaging probably somewhere around 6 to 7 rebounds per game, because he does a really good job of getting them, and he's big, and he's a really good athlete, and he's been playing with more effort. So just, things like that, that's really, really big. He also, I think, played very solid defense. So I'm proud of what Chaz did, stepping up, and hopefully he's going to be out of his slump. Next, we have Meshack. Man, P. Meshack hit. How many threes did Meshack hit today? He hit 2 threes.
That's huge.
When he's open sometimes. And you know what? It was a time, too, when he shot a 3. He shot a 3. It was like right after somebody fouled or something, and he splashed that one. So if we get Meshack hitting 3, if we get him to shoot and to score, period, with some confidence, dude, this team is hard to beat.
Yeah, that's
we are really hard to beat.
That's what pops out most to me, just looking at the stat sheet. I mean, seeing Meshack 2 of 3 from 3-point range. I mean, 3 of 4 from the field. Like, he's almost a guy that is going to give you absolutely nothing on the offensive side unless he can get to the line or get a fast break point. So seeing him get 9 points tonight, I mean, that's huge. And if he can continue to average about close to that double-digit figure, that's a whole. That really takes his team to the next level, in my opinion. Kind of like we talked about Igor earlier in the year. If he can get going, that elevates his team. So him kind of getting hot at the right time, if Meshack can find his rhythm as well, man, I think the sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully he will continue to shoot like that. That's probably like one of the downsides to us having this week off, is that I feel like we got hot in that second half in a lot of spots that we needed to get hot in heading into the tournament. And guys like Shaq, guys like Chaz, who might not need it as much, but they're gonna have to stay hot. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna have to if Tennessee wants to go far in this March Madness tournament. So next, I want to talk about Gainey. He had 9 points. I think that he played well. He missed all of his threes, but he's playing with a lot more confidence. We're seeing people trying to, get to the rim more. We see people trying to get to their spot a lot more, shooting that mid-range, which I think that we're actually a pretty solid mid-range shooting team. So, I think that Gainey showed some really nice things. How many turnovers did he have? That's what I'm always looking out for. So he had 0 turnovers tonight. So that's outstanding for him. Very, very proud of what this basketball team did. And, I think that we will be fine, man. I'm sure not, P, I wasn't on the message boards and stuff today because I had to get this get this show ready. But I'm sure that there were several people on the message boards. As soon as Tennessee started to lose, oh my God, we suck. We're gonna lose. And, like that is
That's so frustrating.
It's so frustrating when people I'm like, dog, are you a fan or not? Like, you can't be a fair weather fan. This is not the University of Georgia. If that's how you want a fan, then please kick rocks and go somewhere else. Like, you got to have that fight. And, I don't want to tell people how to fan, but it just gets on my nerves. Like, it gets on my everlasting nerves for people to panic so much. This is a very good basketball team. We have a whole lot of talent. And, yeah, there's some things that we need to get cleaned up, but everybody needs to clean up some things. So I feel fine, man. I'm very excited to see what the rest of this season brings after we have that full week off. And I think that we're going to, look really strong once we come back. So next, I do want to talk about some baseball. The baseball team, I think, looked really good last night, P. What was your thoughts with the overall, just like the first game last night? I think that they might still be playing. So they're in a 3-game series with Hofstra, and they played last night. I think the game started at 2:00 today, and I think they play again tomorrow. But what are just like some of your opening thoughts with this baseball team?
Man, I'm really impressed with the pitching, man. I mean, I don't know how much you can take from Hofstra. I'm not sure exactly how bad they are, how good they are. I'm assuming they're not a great team just because of how easy we made it look yesterday against those guys, man. We got transfer guy Liam Doyle, and he went out there. I think he pitched 5 innings, had 13 strikeouts, something like that. Or he had 11 strikeouts. I think the first guy, he put the ball in play, like at the first at bat, put the ball in play. Of course, we got him out, but then after that, I think he had 8 strikeouts in a row, just freaking mowing guys down. Lefty, I think he pitches about 95, 96, mid to upper 90s. Has a couple of off-speed pitches as well. So I mean, he's a guy. I don't know if he's our ace or what, but he looked very impressive in his first outing. So I liked him a lot, and also like the guy that came in after him, that T. Franklin, 2 innings, 4 strikeouts. I mean, gosh. He was touching like upper 90s. He's a righty, kind of like a power thrower. Had a breaking ball pitch or two that he likes to mix in there. But he's a guy, man, can paint the corners, can paint the edges of the plate. I like him a lot. And so, like I said, you can't really. I don't know how much you can take from it being against Hofstra. But I mean, if what they did against Hofstra, if that translates, I mean, those 2 guys right there, if like the pitching looked really good. I'm impressed. I know that we got other guys as well. We got I think Marcus Phillips was on the mound today for us. Was on the mound to start the game today for us. I think he had a pretty good start to the game. So I mean, I like the pitching. As far as offensively, again, so I wasn't able to watch this game live. I was working when this game was on, and it's kind of tough to find that stream. So I went back and actually watched like a highlight on YouTube, and it was a pretty good highlight. Basically, it showed all of the I guess you could call it like the deciding pitches of each at bat. So pretty much the last pitch of each at bat, it showed that. So I got to see if it was a strikeout or a walk or, balls hit in play, whatever. So I saw all those clips, and I just wasn't really impressed with what we did with our bats. I didn't see a lot of power. Like last year, years prior, we're hitting home runs all the time. I'm not sure how many home runs we had in this game.
3.
I know we had 3 home runs, which, I mean, it seems like a good number, a pretty good number. But I don't know, man. It seems like it's the long ball. I don't know. I saw a lot of kind of dribblers, a lot of kind of base hits, which is fine. You can win that way. But I would like to see some more power from this lineup. I was impressed with the guy we got from Ole Miss, Andrew Fisher. I think he's wearing number 11, just like Billy Barrels wore for us last year. Transferred in from Ole Miss. I'm not sure how he did. So won a bat, got a hit. But I know he had a freaking ropey hit to the left field wall, like on a freaking rope. It bounced off the top of the wall, and he ended up getting thrown out at second, trying to turn into a double. But I like him. I think he's a guy that probably is going to be that power hitter for us as the season gets going, and a guy that can generate a lot of offense for us. So I like him. I think there's a lot of potential in this lineup. Dean Curley looked really good, had a home run. So I mean, overall, I like this team. If I did have any concern coming out of this 15-0 win, which we run ruled them in the 7th, if I did have any concern, it would be, I think offensively, I want to see us do a little bit more with our bats and put the ball, kind of hit more long balls. But overall, man, really, really like this team. Love the pitching. I think defense looks good. And this is going to be another team that's competing for a championship, I think, here at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think the pitching is really that's where you like those are the champions. Whenever you have really like elite pitching, which it feels like we have a bunch of guys that are studs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm still in the process of learning everybody's names and things like that.
Mhm.
But I actually like the fact that I didn't feel like we came out last night trying to do too much. We weren't pressing. You didn't see too many people taking those big, huge swings, trying to hit home runs all the time. So I
Yeah.
know that we have the power, right? Like we got a lot of people that probably didn't even play yesterday, that might not play today, that are just sluggers. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that we have a ton of speed. This team might be a little bit faster than the one that we had last season. We might see some more steals, like the freshman Abernathy. I saw him coming in, run some bases and things like that. I think that he can get a lot of steals for us. I think that Dean Curley's another one. So I mean, we've got plenty of people that can do a whole lot of different things. And whenever you're talking about situational baseball, that's my whole point here, is that I feel like what we showed, and again, it's versus Hofstra, which is no real competition for us, but I think that we showed that we have the confidence, and that we don't have to always try to hit home runs. We can win different ways, and sometimes you have to do that. So, there's a lot of things that I like so far. It's very early on, but I think that this team is going to be, this team might be more talented than the one that we had last season, but it's such a long year that you can never really tell. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to get hot at the right time. You need some luck. We know that from last season, but I mean, we definitely have a team that for sure can win the whole thing. Like we can run it back to back. No question.
If you look at those numbers for Hofstra, I mean, they had one hit. They had one hit, dude. Like, I mean, we were freaking mowing them down. Like I said, I don't know what you can take from that because it is Hofstra, but man, I was very impressed with the two pitchers we saw last night.
Yeah. Me too. All right, so let's go on ahead and shift gears here, Pete. Unless you have any more thoughts about our baseball team.
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay, so I want to go ahead and shift gears, and I want to talk about some players that I feel that P and I both feel like Tennessee needs to try to tamper with in this transfer portal. So if you've missed some of the previous videos that we've done, we've broken down what's about to happen with the revenue sharing with NIL. So to kind of sum it up for you, revenue sharing is coming, and I think that all the rules and the laws and stuff will be set in place in April. So along with the revenue sharing, what we are thinking, or like what we're hearing is going to happen, is that there's going to be a limit on, or there's going to be a cap with the NIL. And we don't know exactly how that's going to work. It's going to be based off of market value. We don't know what they're gauging the market value off of. They've got, a few really big companies coming in to help out with those things. But what we're talking about now is, $20.5 million for every single sport at your school. We're thinking that most football programs are probably going to get somewhere between, 15 to 17 million dollars. I think the LSU came out and said, look, we're giving $20 million football team. So that's going to be a problem for us. But either way, like you've got that, 15 to 17 million dollars that you can split up with the revenue sharing. You still have the NIL, but it's going to be based off of a cap. So the players won't see that much money with the NIL. You can still pay them crazy numbers with the revenue sharing. The whole point right here, y'all, is that since this is the last, like this spring window coming up, this is going to be the last time that players can get a whole lot of money with NIL. So, and obviously, that portal is going to open up, I believe, before they're set to say what these new rules and everything will be. So Tennessee kind of messed up because we went out, we got one wide receiver. We still need one more, but we're being overly patient. We didn't go out and get any linemen at all. Like we didn't go out and get anybody on our D line, and we still, I think, need somebody. And from what we've been reading and hearing and seeing, wide receivers are asking for a ton of money, and so are defensive linemen, especially tackles. People are pretty much overpaying for both of those spots. That was before what this new spring transfer portal window is going to look like. So at this point, we need to tamper, because tampering is going to be one of the things that they will start to say, hey, if we catch you tampering, there's going to be some real penalties. So everyone's going to be tampering now. It's going to be a whole lot of that going on, and we're going to have to overpay for whatever we bring in. We know for sure that we need another wide receiver, P. I still think that we need another defensive tackle. We're talking about spending, I'm gonna say that the floor for either one of those spots is gonna be $750,000. Like that's gonna be the opening price, more than likely, unless you want to go out and get somebody that can't play. If you do, what's the point? So my thought here is wide receiver. You might not want to spend, 2-3 million, because I think that that's where they're going to be at in this spring window. You might not want to spend that much, but for the tackles, I would say, dude, you might want to go out. You might as well go out and get somebody that's really, really good instead of overpaying for somebody that won't even see the freaking football field. So, with all that being said, and I hope that stuff does make sense, I want to get into the first player, and it will be the only defensive tackle that we're going to be talking about today. We went through, dude, man, I went through numbers and things like that of over like 100-something players, and this was the best one that I came up with. Somebody that I feel like would fit into our scheme, fit into our system, and we'll have a few more years left to play. So right here, we have Jaden Cofield listed at 6'2", 310 pounds. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore. He is playing at Texas Tech currently. The crazy thing, P, is he's been clocked as fast as 19.9 miles per hour. We're going to look at some wide receivers today that are running about that fast. This guy is a big man that can move. He had 23 tackles, 2 sacks, 8 tackles for loss in 2024. And I think that he can play pretty much any defensive tackle technique that Tennessee needs. He's a really, really good one. But there's another one that I was going to try to put in here. And that's Lee Hunter, who's from Central Florida. He started off at Auburn, then he transferred to Central Florida. And now he's transferred to Texas Tech. Something else, P, that we've heard is that Texas Tech is paying a lot of money, especially in that previous window. So if we want to go out and get this guy, it's going to cost us a bunch of money. But maybe he might want to leave because there's another really good tackle coming in. Maybe he, wants to be that guy. I think that after this season, he could go on to the league. And, maybe he wants to come and play with Coach G, show that he can do it in the best league in the entire country. But just like looking at his highlights and everything like that, P, what do you like about his game, and do you like him as a pick for Tennessee?
Yeah, I absolutely love him as a pick. I think he's a guy that comes in here. We don't really have that big, beefy-bodied guy, and he's not as big as an Elijah Simmons, but he's a guy that can definitely hold the point. You don't see him getting moved much. You see quick twitch from him. And what I love most about him is how he uses his hands, man. He uses his hands, extends guys off his body, but also kind of just gets rid of those guys with ease. Whenever he's ready to get rid of them, whenever he's ready to disengage, he does it at will. So he's a guy I think could come in and could potentially, I think he'd be competing with probably Jackson Moy to see who's that first guy alongside Bryson Eason. He can do it all for you. If it is in the cards, if we can kind of get his ear and try to persuade him, I would definitely be all over that because we need some proven bodies in there. We don't have a lot of depth in that room. In terms of experience depth, we're talking about Dominic Bailey potentially bumping inside. How effective will he be in there? I don't know. I'll feel much better about going and getting this guy. You love that there, man. Goal line. You see the leverage. You see a nice flat back. Just can strike, can disrupt the line of scrimmage. So I think he'd fit in very nicely and could come in here and be a guy. Similar to we saw with Omar Norman Lott coming in here and pretty much immediately being a day one type guy. I see much the same looking at this guy's film as well.
Yeah, so I think that he would have to start because we're talking about, right, so it sounds like last season tackles in the portal were going for, like, if you wanted a decent one, it sounds like that was, close to, 750 and up. So in this one, he might be 2 million or so, especially coming from Texas Tech, who we know would probably be willing to match whatever any, offer is out there. But he's a guy that he could potentially get up to about 2 million, maybe even 2.5 million. That's just what I'm speculating on. And we don't know yet for sure. But yeah, he's going to have to come in. He's going to have to start. I think that I love Jackson Moore, but I think he's better than Jackson Moore. For me, he's like a Big O, but maybe a little bit of a better athlete. I think he might be a little bit better than Big O was for us last season, just based off of what I've seen. So he's a guy that I would love for Tennessee to go out and target. If it's not going to be a guy on this level, then it's going to be, it's going to be pretty much like what we passed up in the previous windows, and probably less than that. And we're going to have to spend more than what we didn't want to pay in that previous window. I feel like that's probably why we didn't go out and add any more tackle bodies, because they were probably asking for too much money, knowing what we know now. So at this point, I don't think this is a spot, P, that we absolutely have to go out and do it. But if they feel like they do need to after spring practice, then yeah, we're going to be spending close to 2 million on just one player. We probably could have got, two guys in the previous window for that 2 million. That's just, I think that was a boneheaded move by the staff. But let's get on to the next player. And this will be, we're going to talk about the wide receivers. So we'll start off right here with Brian Wesco Jr., listed at 6'2", 180 pounds. He's going to be a sophomore next season. He played at Clemson. He was a freshman last year. He's been clocked at almost 23 miles per hour. He has great speed. He's an inside-outside guy. He caught 41 of the 77 targets that he had last season. That's 53.3%. But of the catchable passes, he caught 89%, which we like him to be up over 90. But again, this guy was a freshman, and he's only going to get better. He only had 2 drops, which looks good. 708 yards, 5 touchdowns, 15 explosives, 17.3 yards per catch, averaging 16.1 yards after the catch. And he's one that I feel like, P, like we just touched on, he could play inside, he could play outside. He's got good size, he's got good length. Well, he's got more length than he has size. He could definitely add some pounds, but I think that this is what Tennessee needs to start trying to target is, hey, look, we got to get with the freaking times. You can't just have wide receivers that are playing outside, guys that are playing inside. They need to be able to do it all because everyone else is doing that. And we're going to see that as we're going through people's films. That's how the NFL does it. That's how Tennessee needs to do it. So I think that would help us to get more players on the field. It would help the offense to, be more difficult to stop. And the fact that we can get some different looks. But I love what I'm seeing from him vertically. He'll go up high point footballs. He makes the tough catches over the middle. Obviously, he's got that straight line speed to beat you after the catch as well. But Pete, what do you like in this game?
I mean, I absolutely love his game, man. He's a great athlete. I mean, he was a true freshman last year, right? So, I mean, he's doing this as a true freshman guy. So I'm just kind of imagining what Mike Matthews did last year. Now, we didn't utilize him like we should have, but just imagine what he did, but how high we still are on him. This guy went out and put up some real numbers as a true freshman. Long, rangy guy, like you said, continuing to develop. He'll get bigger. I mean, you could easily see him being about 6'2.5", about $197, almost 200 pounds by the start of this season, right? So I think he projects as a long-term kind of big-time prospect, talking NFL prospect long-term, has good speed, runs good routes. And again, man, I just love the fact that he's so young. And so there's just so much room for growth for a guy like him. Now, the issue with that is, does a guy like him, would he ruffle some feathers from maybe some of the true freshmen we have, Travis Smith, Ra Jackson, those type of guys, Dobson, does he ruffle some feathers there? Because he's a guy, he'll probably be here, if we did get him, he'd be here for 2025, 2026 at least, and maybe in 2027. So, is he a good fit for our receiver room? I don't know, but I don't think we're necessarily in a position to be really picky with who we go out and get. If we can get this guy for a good price, and I say good price, I mean, like you said, if we can get him under $1 million, I think you got to go take a shot at that because he's a guy that comes in, I think, day one. I don't know if he's going to be a starter per se, but he's definitely going to be a guy that should be heavily involved in the road.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where I was at with my whole train of thought with him is like, okay, we can see that he's done some really good things and he did that, as a very young player. But, for me, one of the questions is, like you said, Pete, will he come in? Will he ruffle some of those feathers and things like that? Is he going to mess with that room? I think that, there's a possibility that he could, but at the same time, he's not a huge name like a Carnell Tate. So bringing in guys like that, we will expect that, hey, players will probably want to leave after that. But he's a guy that could come in, like you said, doesn't have to be that starter, but he's a really good player. And, we're probably going to be spending close to $1 million if he comes. I think that any wide receiver that Tennessee gets is going to be over 750 at this point. It's because the entire market has switched up so much. It's going to be crazy. And, I don't know if we have any players that would, maybe like take a discount with their NIL so that we could go out and add the players that we need to, or if we're going to feel comfortable and confident, enough to say, we're going to kind of stick with what we have, let the underclassmen play. I would be fine with that personally. Like, that would be cool for me. So we will go on to the next player. I think that P might have been having some technical difficulties, but we should get him back in just a minute. But the next one, I might like him the best, y'all. This is Stephon Jackson. I think that I'm saying his name right. Is it Stephon or Steven Jackson? He is 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. He's going to be a senior this upcoming year, and he played at Houston. He's at about 21 miles per hour. He caught 32 of the 47 targets that he got last season, which is good for 68%. But he caught 94% of the catchable ones. Now, this is what I love to see. This is a wily veteran that will make those catches. He only had one drop. That looks really good to me. 402 yards, 2 touchdowns, 13 explosives, 12.6 yards per catch, 8.3 yards after the catch. You got to love that. This is a guy that can make you miss. And I think that's something that we are missing, with this team. I think that we've been missing that for the past couple of seasons, but especially last year. We didn't see a lot of the wide receivers making things happen after the catch. This is a guy that can most definitely do that. So we will go ahead and jump into his film here, and I'm going to kind of show y'all what I'm talking about. So he's another one that can play inside. He can play outside. They love to use him in that screen game down there at Houston. So that's part of the reason that his yards after the catch is going to look so good. But at the same time, I know he's not going up against the toughest competition, but when you see it, you just kind of know he's a guy that I feel like his game will translate. He may not be as, dominant once he gets to like a real power 4 program and things like that. But I think that he's very, very good for what Tennessee needs. It's a guy that can make those tough catches, that can make some things happen after the catch. They can play inside, can play outside, and it's tough. He's shown some physicality on film as well. I've seen him block some. He looks good doing that. So while he might not be the biggest player, I think that he can do everything that Tennessee would ask him to do. And this is a player that, we would probably, I'm not sure. I mean, potentially, right? Like really all based off how he's seeing things, potentially we can maybe get him at a little bit of a discount. Maybe he says, hey, I want to go to a program that I feel like can utilize me well, in the toughest conference in the entire world so that my draft stock comes up. Now, I don't think that he's entered into the NFL draft. I didn't see anywhere that he has, but he may have at this point. Either way, if he's still going to be there, this is the type of player that I feel like Tennessee needs to go out and target, just moving forward. And actually, it looks like we got P back. And P, you may have missed everything that I just talked about, but right now we're on Stephon Johnson from Houston. And I was just kind of talking about him, at 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, and how I like his game as an inside-outside guy. But if you have much of a chance to kind of, look at what he's been doing, what do you think about his game, and do you think that it would translate to Tennessee's system?
Oh yeah, I love him. And first of all, sorry about that. My little daughter, she unplugged our Wi-Fi, so I lost connection for a second there. Sorry about that. But man, yeah, this guy here, Johnson, it's between him and Wesco as far as my favorite guys we're going to talk about today. I mean, I like him a lot, man. He's very explosive.
Uh-oh. Looks like we might have lost him again. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna let him get his internet and everything fixed, but we can go on to the next player right here. And that's gonna be I think his name is Daryl Gill. I hope that I'm saying that right, but he's 6'3", 173 pounds. He's going to be a junior this season, played at Syracuse, 21.3 miles per hour. So he has pretty solid straight line speed. He's not a true burner. He caught 31 of the 50 targets. That's 62%. But the crazy thing, y'all, 97% of the catchable passes he caught, but he had 0 drops. I don't know how that works out. I got those numbers from Pro Football Focus. He had 570 yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 explosives, 18.4 yards per catch, and 4.7 yards after the catch. So there's a lot of things that I watched on film with him that I like as well. And he's a guy that I feel like, again, man, with that length, that's what Coach Hyper really likes. It's the players that are 6'3" and up, really more so for the outside. But he's a guy that can play inside. We've seen him do that at Syracuse. And it would be great, I think, for a couple of reasons. And we'll just kind of take a break from, like talking about him on the field right now. But we know that we're going to be playing Syracuse, early on in the season. So he's a guy that maybe could come over and give us some of them trade secrets and things like that. I think that would be a really good look for Tennessee. But just in watching him run his routes, they're not, I wouldn't say that he's like the best route runner or anything like that, but he has a savviness to him. He has a way of getting open. He has a toughness to him. I think that all the Syracuse players, and we'll see that next season, they all play with a certain level of toughness. And I think that Tennessee does the exact same thing. Like, we don't have wide receivers that aren't playing. We don't have anybody on our team that doesn't play tough. So I think that he would fit in from that perspective. And the same thing that we talked about with some of these other players. If you want to show and prove to the NFL that you can, compete with the very, very best, why not come to a Tennessee, with the Nico playing a quarterback in his second season as the starter? He's starting to figure things out. You've got some other options there too, as far as, counterparts that are wide receivers that could keep you from getting that double coverage. And, the field's going to be spread out. This is really, this is a skilled player's dream to come play in a system like this, because we're going to get you the ball out in space. We've got a quarterback with the cannon that can do a whole lot of really good things. He can make all the throws. So you don't ever have to, throttle routes down and things like that. You can just keep on going. he could probably throw it about 70-something yards. So I think that, a lot of those things do look good. Again, we would have had to tamper with him because I don't know that he's entered into the portal by any means. But I think that we could start to talk to some of these players and say, hey, look, we like to, we like to bring you on home. And I guess just gauge and see how much is it going to cost. And see, for me, it would make more sense to start to do those types of things now before the real market has been set. Because once the portal fully opens up in spring, and once some of these players, I would say, like, once the first wide receiver gets picked up, they're probably going to set the entire market. So it makes sense to try to say, hey, look, we want to go ahead and get you locked down right now. Okay, we got everything set up. As soon as the clock strikes 12, you can enter into the portal. You enter in with a non-contact. We already know what's going on, and you fly on down. Right, we're gonna sign this paperwork. We're gonna get you in, and that's gonna be that. I think that should be the way that Tennessee tries to handle this whole thing. Just because if not, we're gonna end up overpaying for several of these players. And let me get to my dog right here while we're waiting on P to see if P does come back. For my dog T and Junior saying that he's looking forward to spring in every damn way, bro. Yeah, I am too, man. I'm looking forward to the whole thing, and it's really good to see you back too. Haven't heard from you in probably like a month or so. So, P, was you able to get it figured out?
Yeah, I think we should be good now.
All right. All right. So we was just talking about Gil Jr. from Syracuse. What do you think about his game? And I can bring the clips back up for you.
Yeah, I like him a lot too, man. He strikes me as kind of like a veteran type of guy. When I was watching this film, I kept thinking about Ramel Keaton a little bit when I watched him. Yeah. Just kind of has a similar style of play. I think he's more explosive than Ramel Keaton was for us. So he's a guy. I think he's kind of like the perfect fit because he's not a guy that I think is just necessarily like a superstar. I think he would fit in well with the kind of cohesiveness of that room. But would be a guy that I think could give us some valuable playing time, put up some decent numbers for us. I think he can run every route in the route tree, makes good tough catches. He's not scared to go across the middle. So he seems like a guy that would be a good fit and probably wouldn't cost us a ton of money. And like I said, I think he overall would probably be one of the best fits just in terms of just overall cohesiveness of that room. I think he'd be a really good fit for this team.
Yeah, I do too. I think that any of these guys would be a good fit. But if you had to pick one, who would you pick? And actually, I'll bring these back up. So this is Gil's profile. Okay. Yep. The main thing that I like about him is 0 drops. I think that Nico really wants and probably needs a wide receiver that's going to be super sure-handed and that can play with some toughness. Then we also have Stephon Johnson. He's another really, really good one. He's a veteran, probably only has 1 year left to play. Wesco, I think you said that he was probably going to be on the top of your list. He has great speed. He's got good size and everything else. He's another one that has really good hands. And that's going to be it for the wide receivers. But who would you like the best out of those?
Man, it'd be between Wesco and Johnson for me. Just kind of, what do you like? I think I was more impressed with Johnson's film. Just, from what, I don't know, just when I turned the film on, I was immediately just kind of drawn to him. I felt like he's very explosive and just seemed like a guy that, I don't know, man. I just think he kind of has what we're looking for. And I think the same about Wesco as well. Just the thing with Wesco, him being a little bit younger, obviously there's more room for growth and more room for him to even get, even better. But just don't know kind of how he would fit into the room, him being so young and being so talented. I think he comes in, he's immediately probably your number 2 or number 3 receiver, like day one. Like it's probably, it's Browse and Mike Matthews, and then it's probably him. He probably inserts right there immediately. So, but I think overall, he is probably the best player overall. But I think in terms for our team, Johnson may be a better fit in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. I think that you might be right. I think that Johnson would be probably the perfect fit just because he wouldn't mess with some of those underclassmen. And I think that that's probably more of what this staff is probably worried about. Like, you want to bring in somebody that has been proven, that understands how to work, and that can come in and understand, hey, look, this is what my role is going to be, and other players are going to have to play, and just pretty much handle things like a real pro. And I think that Johnson would probably be that dude. But in all honesty, I have no idea what the staff is going to do as far as how we play this whole thing out. But I can guarantee you, because we've already been hearing about it, tampering is starting up in a very, very major way, for this spring. teams are already starting to do it. So I hope the Tennessee is one of them. And if we're not, then I guess the other question would be, will we be fine if we don't go out and add another wide receiver from the transfer portal at the spring, Pete?
Man, I don't know, man. That's a huge question. I mean, it's going to be 100% on. Well, I say 100%. I think first it's predicated on how healthy can we stay, because we've seen Heupel do it before, rotating 3 or 4 receivers, for the entire season. So, I mean, I feel like we have 3 or 4 receivers, Now, what if happens if somebody goes down? What happens if we need a little more depth? The guy gets tired or whatever. Then number 2 is predicated on the true freshman, how ready those guys ready to play day one, which we know, especially with Heupel, he does not like to play true freshman at wide receiver. And so the fact that Mike Matthews even played a little bit last year is huge. But I don't know, man. I think we definitely need to add at least one veteran body, or at least one proven body, kind of like Wesco. He's not a veteran, but he is proven. You have to add at least one body, in my opinion, because you're just rolling the dice too much, I think, if you go in there with 3, basically 3 proven receivers. Well, not even 3, really 2 proven receivers. And then you got Brandon Staley, who you say, okay, this is our 3rd guy. And then, Amari Jefferson didn't really get to play. You got Blue Carter coming over, who hasn't played in the offense, and then it's all true freshmen. So I think I'll bring in at least 1, maybe even 2 bodies, I think, in that room.
Yeah, I think so too, P. I don't see any realistic way that unless you trust one of the walk-on guys, and unless it turns into a situation where we have to do. Because I'm thinking that we might be in a situation where I have no idea how much money Tennessee has left at this point, but I'm thinking with how the market is probably going to be looking in the spring, and we didn't show any SEC players because we can't go out and get any SEC players. But I think that we're looking at spending $2 to $3 million on 2 players that it's not like we're going to be getting a Carnell Tate. See what I'm saying? Like, we probably could have spent that much just on a Carnell Tate if we would have just went out and done it before. If we didn't have the money then, how are we going to have it now? So I am a little bit concerned about that. Let me get to the chat. From I Bleed Orange is asking, did we see what Urban Meyer said about us? Urban Meyer promotes Tennessee as the dark horse national. Yeah, I saw that. Pete, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I actually didn't see that, but that's interesting. I feel like he was kind of high on us this past season as well. Kind of interesting coming from Urban. You wouldn't expect him to have so much love to the Vols, but maybe he's got.
Yeah, I think that he likes Nico.
Yeah, he likes Nico, and he does love Nico. I heard him talking about him one time, and maybe he gets it because we feel like we're guys that get it, and obviously we watch this as our team, so we feel like we're more in tune with this team than most of the national media. But I think look at a guy like Nico. If he takes the natural progression you expect a guy to take kind of in their 2nd year as a full-time starter, I think we have some athletic pieces at receiver. I think the O-line is probably going to be even better than it was last year, despite losing a lot of veteran leadership there. I think offensively, I think we can take a big step next season. And we're going to have a similar schedule we had this season, which I think was a pretty easy schedule relative to what it could have been in the SEC. So, yeah, I think we're a team we can definitely make a run. And I think the main thing is, does Nico take that jump? If he takes the jump and becomes the guy that everybody believes he is, then yeah, I think the sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah, I think so too, man. We'll see. It's hard to tell until we know exactly how the roster is going to look at the spring. That's my biggest concern right now is who's going to stay, who's going to leave, because we'll probably have a few people leave here and there. But I think as long as, and then we also have to stay really healthy. That's one of the bigger things that I noticed after playing up against those Buckeyes is, you just see that they're loaded with talent. Like, they've got so much blue chip caliber talent on their team. And I know that they lost the OC, lost their DC, but I think that their defense might be able to take a step forward because I think that they might be getting a better DC coming in. So I understand that dark horse means that you have a chance to win it, like you're a team that maybe other people aren't talking about that has a chance. I definitely think that Tennessee is one of those. I'm just going to wait and see how do we look in spring and all that type of stuff because it is a whole new team. And while it sounds pretty easy that, all Nico has to do is step up, the wide receivers need to help him out some more. For me, it's the whole offense. The offensive scheme, we need to make a lot of very small changes or maybe just a few major changes. And I don't know that Coach Hype was willing to do that just yet. So we'll see. From T&. Jr., he's saying that we should use all the resources possible, period. 100%, brother. We definitely got to do that. He's also saying that he hates Urban Meyer. Yeah, I don't care for him personally either, Sam, but at least he's showing some love, 100%. from my dog MG Way saying, I don't know how many more of these cardiac games I can handle. Yeah. I think that for the basketball team, we have to start off a lot faster. That's going to get us beat if we don't change that. It's something that we've been doing poorly for, I mean, almost the entire season. We got to get off to some faster starts. And if we can do that, because our defense is so good, then, we're going to be fine. But I think that that's something that we need to try to work on before the next game. But that's going to be it, P. Do you have any more thoughts to share with the good people out there?
No, not really, man. I'm just excited about seeing what this football team looks like here. I know they're doing the winter workouts now. We've seen a few clips from them. I just want to see them continue to get bigger and stronger and faster. Can't wait for spring ball to get started up here, man. And hey, we got a lot going on too. Baseball's looking great. And then and I think they won like 18-1 or something like that. So they end up killing Hofstra again today. So they're looking great. And then basketball team, hey, we got a big push. Here comes March coming right around the corner. So let's get hot at the right time.
Yep, you're doggone right. Actually, let me get to these last little chats right here from MG Way. He's saying that he doesn't think that Tennessee is a dark horse. It's not like we'll be coming out of nowhere. People know about Tennessee. Maybe we are a sleeper team. Yeah. But so for me, I kind of feel like dark horse and sleeper team is kind of I kind of think that that's the same thing. But I understand exactly what he's saying because, I mean, Tennessee should be mentioned with any of the teams, and especially in the SEC, to have a chance to make that. You know what I'm saying? To have a chance to make that push.
Yeah.
And so that I'm kind of I'm to the point now where I'm expecting to make it to the playoffs. Not saying that it's going to be easy, but that's what I expect now because I think that that's where we're at. But I do still have some questions that's yet to be answered, and I don't think that it will be answered. The bad taste from the college football playoffs won't be out of my mouth until at least I see us in spring, and hopefully then I'll start to get excited again.
That bad taste, I mean, that's not going to be out of my mouth. Probably not until week 3. I mean, we'll see maybe week 1 when we play Syracuse, probably. But probably not until we go play Georgia. I mean, show me something against a team that can fight back. Show me something then, and then. Because until then, and kind of to hit the commenter's point there, that's kind of, I think, why we're a dark horse. We made it to the playoffs this year, played against a really good Ohio State team, and just got blown out of the water. So,
I think that's it too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like we're a team, we can make it, but can we actually win it? I don't think many people believe we can actually win it. So to me, I think that's why we're a dark horse.
Yep. 100%. All right. So the last one right here is just from I'll Bleed Orange, is saying, have a good day. All right. So he's going to watch the Bama and Auburn game. I'm about to go do the same thing. But hey, listen, thank y'all so much for joining us. Go ahead, Pete.
Oh, no. I was just saying that's going to be a big one right there.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. All right. So that's going to be it, y'all. But thank you so much. Please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.